In January of 2000, Saskatoon Senior Police Constables Dan Hatchin and Ken Munson arrested an angry man for causing a disturbance. Then, instead of taking him to jail and charging him, they did as he pleaded, released him to work off his anger by walking 2 miles home. That man, Daryl Knight, arrived home safely, but in a tragic coincidence, within the next 10 days, 2 men were found frozen to death in roughly the same area of the city. Many people, including myself, leapt to the conclusion that if the 2 officers dropped 1 man off in that area, then they must have been involved with the 2 men who actually died in that area. And suddenly the officers were publicly condemned before they had even testified in court. The officers were sent to prison where the murder of Ken Munson was plotted, here in this courtyard. I'm Candace McLean, Calgary journalist, born and raised in Saskatchewan. I've written 4 magazine articles on the Saskatoon police. In the first article, like most journalists, I began with the politically correct assumption that police are racist, have all the power, and regularly abuse it. When I did further investigations, however, I was so horrified by my findings that I quit my job to make this documentary. Join us as we examine the myth broadcast around the world that Saskatoon police have frequently dropped Native people off in isolated places, in what the media call starlight tours. And now, finally, the officers break their silence.
It was about close to 5 o'clock in the morning. We'd been working night shift 7 to 7. And there was an assault with a weapon. Turned out to be a stabbing because we were so far away. We were the last ones here and everybody was doing something. As I came up to the corner like this, I could see a couple of police officers. They were coming this way. It was obvious they were doing a search with the dog. So I thought, well, I better not interfere. So I thought, well, we'll just stay in the area. Or at least we were close if something came up. And as I came here, I was aware that he just stepped off the curb. I didn't pay much attention, but as we got to here, he quickened his pace and came up to the car.
And he brought his hand up and raised his middle finger in the universal salute. And Ken looked at me and shrugged our shoulders and kept on going. I mean, it wasn't the first time something like that has ever happened.
I always drive my window down a little bit because I'm a little claustrophobic. And as he came up to the car, he banged or kicked or both on the car, and he just screamed at the top of his lungs.
Get down!
A big man, 250 pounds, screaming and banging on the car. I kind of ducked over because my first reaction was he was going to put the glass through because he was extremely angry.
Hey! Your problem! What the is your problem?
Ken stopped the vehicle and kind of give me like, guess we got to deal with this. We arrested him at that point, I did, for causing disturbance in a public place.
A few minutes drive, a life-shattering spin. Not only for Saskatoon Senior Police Constables Ken Munson and partner Dan Hatchin, but for the entire city of Saskatoon.